My name is Leon and I'm 10 years old. This happened when I was 8 years old. I live in a forest where I don't have next door neighbors, so pretty much I don't have to worry about going into people's yards by accident, which is a good thing. I have a basketball hoop because I've always loved basketball my whole life and always thought about joining in the NBA in the future. I played basketball every day till this one night. It was a Saturday and it was 10 o'clock and I told my mom, I'm gonna be outside. She said back, okay, Leon, just be safe, which I never knew why till now. I was outside and it was pitch black except our porch lights shining in the basketball hoop. I started to play and shot 3-pointers at the same time. It felt like an hour and I wanted to go inside but work on trick shots at the same time. I decided to work on trick shots instead of going inside. I was laughing at myself because how stupid the trick shots were. I tried to pull off a backward shot but completely missed. The basketball bounced into the dark where I couldn't even see the ball at all. I thought about going inside and waiting to get the ball tomorrow and start playing from there again. So that's what I decided to do, but before I even turned around, the basketball from the darkness came back to me like someone was doing a bounce pass to me. I panicked and yelled, hello? But no answer. It was dead silent. I ran back inside as fast as I can and went to my room thinking, who in the world bounced past the ball to me? I struggled to get sleep that night. Whoever was out there was never found to this day. Growing up, I loved taking walks every day. I always loved the feeling after a 1-mile walk, but it all changed at this night. It was 8 p.m. and I decided to walk around a bit. I didn't see anyone, but I wasn't surprised at the same time. I was walking on the sidewalk when I came over this weird smell. It smelled like perfume and blood mixed together. I immediately looked down to see if I was actually stepping on blood, but I didn't. Then another thought came to me saying, maybe you're just next to a dumpster or some trash, but there was nothing there. So that's when I got sick of it and decided to continue my journey. But the second I took another step, that's when I realized I couldn't smell it anymore. You know what? That's when I also realized I forgot to look up. And when I did, my name is Henry and this story happened to me last year. It always feels like yesterday every time I tell this story. I was walking on the sidewalk and wanted to go to the movies to go see the new Marvel movie. The movie theater I live by is called Century 16. My friends always told me about how every time they went to Century 16, their experience was weird and odd feeling. I sighed every time thinking, why would a movie theater have such an odd feeling? I got to Century 16 safely and was prepared to buy my movie ticket to go see the new Marvel movie. I got my movie ticket and went to go sit at my seat. When I got there was no one there. It felt kind of odd, but at the same time I was kind of hyped up because I was going to have a movie theater to myself. The movie was going to start at 7:30 p.m. and it was 7:29 p.m. I realized that literally nobody came. It immediately distracted me, but that's when I noticed the lights are turning off and the movie is counting down from 5. When the movie started, it wasn't even a movie. It was just my memories when I was 5 and I lost my first tooth. The tape was also showing how I started to ride a bike for the first time. I got up from my seat and went to leave because I was so shocked and creeped out at the same time. I went out at the edge of the door to see what in the world was going on. I read the movie and it was supposed to be showing Captain America, the first Avenger. And that's when I heard chattering coming from the theater I left because I was so creeped out by it. I went back in and almost threw up to what I was seeing. There was at least 50 people waiting for the movie to start also. I was freaked out because I didn't even see anyone come in. I darted out of Century 16, not turning around at all. I got out safely and turned around to see the building one last time. It turns out I was actually in a haunted house the entire time. Century 16 never existed. My name is Corey, and the strangest thing happened to me a week ago. It was a sunny day and I was getting out of work. I work for Verizon to keep the internet going for everyone. I was getting out of the building, and while I was going into my car, I turned around and looked somewhere between the 30th or 40th floor. I saw a guy staring down at me with no facial expression. For what felt like 30 seconds, this man didn't blink at all. I shook it off and started going to my car. I took off in the parking lot and began flooring it on the highway until I got to the speed limit, which was 65. I took a look at the time and it was 6:30 p.m. I tried putting music on until I got home, but before I did anything, I took a look out of the front window and saw the same man standing in the middle of the road. I screamed and swerved around him so hard that I didn't even care if another car hits me from behind. Thankfully, no car was there to pay the price. I took a look in the rearview mirror to see a closer look of this guy, but no one there. I got home safely and I told my mom what happened, but she didn't even seem to care at all. It was about 7:30 p.m. when I heard the doorbell ring. I peeked through the hole and saw the same guy again. I opened the door in sheer rage to ask this guy, what the heck does he want? The strangest part though is that this guy looked exactly like me now I'm seeing him up close. He told me, "Hi, my name is Corey. I think you should wake up. You're in a dream." Suddenly, I was actually waking up like I had some nightmare for some actual dream. When I woke up, my mom was standing by the bed. My mom said, "Geez, you slept for a while." I laughed and said, "Yeah," back to her, while she was leaving my room. I left my room also for some reason and wanted to turn on the news to see what's going on. I turned on the news to see a woman reporting a car accident on the highway. I took a look at the time on the right-hand corner to see it was 6:30 p.m. Flashbacks came back to me in my dream when I was looking at the clock before turning the music on to see it was 6:30 p.m. I got scared and turned off the TV. I got hungry and decided to cheer myself up by ordering a pizza from Domino's. I ordered it and decided to watch my favorite YouTuber, Rev Wicks, until the pizza came. For what felt like an hour, I heard the doorbell ring. I looked at the clock and it was 7:30 p.m. I didn't answer the door at all. My mom told me that she was going to go to work and I was going to be home alone for the rest of the day. Hours passed and I sneezed and someone told me, "Bless you," when I realized I'm supposed to be home alone. I tucked my son into bed when he told me, "Daddy, check for monsters under my bed." I looked into the bed and I see him, another him, who says, "Daddy, check for monsters above my bed." I was always concerned on why my parents didn't want me to go outside all the time. I pulled up the news to find out I was missing for 13 years and my parents weren't my parents. My name is Mike and this happened to me last week. I live in an amazing 2-story house on a dock where I can go fishing. I mostly love fishing because it's peaceful and I love seeing the sunset. I went on my fishing dock and started to fish. I was having an awesome time catching catfish, but this is when the story gets creepy. All of a sudden, I hear footsteps coming from behind me. I turned around to see who it is and it was a man. The guy had long greasy hair with big brown eyes, wearing jeans with a plain white shirt, and he had a backpack. He was also carrying a fishing pole in his hand. I was also mad confused because he was trespassing on another person's dock. A normal thing to do is just tell him, "Hey, you're not supposed to trespass," or "Hey, you're breaking a rule." But I thought about being nice and maybe he needed something. I tried to stay calm and act normal, but that's when I saw him sit down like he didn't even know he was breaking a rule. That's when I thought about talking to him. I started a conversation saying, "Nice day out here, isn't it?" He replied, "Absolutely." He then asked me what my name was, and I replied to him saying, "My name is Mike. What's your name?" All of a sudden, instead of him answering back my simple reply, he made a joke with my name. He said, "Have you heard of Mike and Ike?" He then started hysterically laughing. That's when I got super triggered and asked him back, "Have you heard of trespassing?" That's when he stopped laughing and gave me the most triggered look I've ever seen. He then started to pull his bait out of his backpack, and that's when my heart dropped. With the corner of my eye, he was putting on a human finger for bait. He then casted the pole and then asked me, "Can you watch my stuff while I go grab some other things at my house real quick?" I replied to him saying, "Sure, no problem," like I haven't even noticed the finger he pulled out. About 30 minutes later, he was still gone, and that's when I decided to do something I regret to this day. Out of my curiosity, I looked in the backpack to see what he packed, and that's when I ran back in my house. In the backpack was 2 eyeballs, 2 ears, and 9 fingers. The 10th finger is the one he casted in the water, so that's how I knew it was a human. I called the police telling them everything. The police came immediately and started investigating. They saw what I saw in the backpack. With the corner of my eye, I saw one of the policemen reeling in the pole he casted earlier. The finger on the hook was gone, but there was a note on the hook. The policemen gathered around me, and we all read it together. The note said, "Aren't you glad I didn't come back?" This story is told from a female perspective. I've always loved kayak fishing during the day. Every time I got out on my kayak, I've always had a decent, good, normal time, but never a bad time until now. I was on my kayak doing my normal fishing when I came across this woman who was also on a kayak. She was wearing all white, and even her kayak was all white. She looked like she was living in the 1700s vibe. She came close to me and didn't say a word. It felt kind of unsettling. I broke the silence and said, "So, how's your day been?" But all she did was turn her head to me, but didn't say anything. Now I was feeling uncomfortable, but then I thought maybe she doesn't speak English. So I asked her another question just to make sure. The second question I asked was, "So, where are you from?" But she didn't say anything. All she did was she kept staring at me. After what felt like 30 minutes, I looked at her and she pointed at something, like she was replying to my question. She still didn't say anything, but I started to trace her finger to see where she was pointing to. She pointed at a house, but it wasn't just a house. It was my house. I then told her, "Hey, that's where I live." I then looked back at her, but there was nobody. I looked everywhere, but she vanished. I got super creeped out and kayaked as fast as I can until I got back to my house. I immediately reported it to the police and told them everything, what she looked like, what she was on, and what she did. The police came immediately and started questioning me on where she was. I told them everything that I experienced with her. Once the cops showed me a picture of her, one of the cops showed me a picture of her and asked, "Is this her?" I immediately said yes, back to them. The cop smiled but kept a serious look at the same time and said, "This woman died 15 years ago at this house and loves to go kayak fishing." I almost fainted hearing this because other people also reported her kayaking in the same white kayak in the same white dress. It turns out I lived with and talked with a ghost the entire time. I'm 15 now. This story happened to me when I was 12 years old. I live by a lake and I own a dock by my amazing looking 2-story house. My room is on the 2nd floor where I have a window so I can easily see the amazing view of the lake. Here's where the story begins. It was about 2:30 a.m. and I woke up due to a nightmare I just had. Thank God the nightmare immediately left my mind, or else this story would be even longer. I looked around to see if I was okay and I noticed it was like 2:39 in the morning. I tried several attempts on trying to go back to sleep, but it just wouldn't work. I gave up and got up from my bed and started to walk to my window. I looked to see the amazing view of the moon, but that's when something caught my eye. On the dock, there was a black silhouette that looked like he or she was fishing. I couldn't tell if it was a he or she because it was just too hard to identify. I then whispered to myself, "What is he or she doing on this dock?" That's when the figure reaches out its long arm and pointed at me like a sudden response. I got scared and went back to bed, and I somehow fell asleep. The next day, I looked out of my window on the dock to see if it was still there, but it was gone. I never saw the figure again, but I knew for a fact he or she wasn't trying to catch fish.